trying to take food stamps for my 6 children. He is trying to take the food from my children's bellies. Why, must you ask? Why would Donald Trump want to take food stamps from you, Courtney? Well, because I drive a 2024 G-Wagon. That's why. And when you are on food stamps, or if you are on any type of welfare, you can't have nice things.
What's up, everybody? You're tapped into the Crucial Convo podcast with your gracious host, Kojo Afriye. I hope everybody's good out here. I want to talk tonight about Section 8 housing. So we're going to get into that. The big, beautiful bill that Trump has proposed has not obviously made it through Congress yet, but there's a lot of different changes. So I'm not going to talk about SNAP benefits, but I want to get into Section 8 for a little bit. So all over the internet, people are talking about it. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Now, before I even get into it, I want to first and foremost, this is just for me. I got to make sure we don't make Section 8 a racial black thing. They're going to put this on the chest of black people, and I want to stop that from the beginning in case anybody's doing it out there. So let's get into Section 8 as far as a breakdown of recipients, right? So about 50% are white, right? About 30 to 40% are black, and about 10 to 20 are Hispanic. And then you have a smaller breakdown of Asian and, Hawaiian and so on. But now what's going on with this bill, right? So what Trump is proposing is for the whole Section 8 program to cease from a federal level, the way we've all known it, right? Give those funds over to the state, or have the states administer how the program runs, right? Now, before I even get into my personal experience in real estate, seeing the Section 8 program and how it works, I want to say that this thing is not surprising to me. I have been kind of seeing this coming for a long time, simply because some of the people who abuse the system and want to stay on it for a long time. Now, I know there's some people that don't want to hear that, but it's definitely a fact. And there's many people who are trying to get on the program and haven't been able to get on. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So let me first just play a little bit of what's going on in the program.
President Donald Trump has proposed a skinny budget that includes cutting federal government rent assistance by 40%, essentially ending the Section 8 voucher program. Trump proposes sending that money to individual states that can then design their own rental assistance programs based on their unique needs and preferences. In its request, the White House called the current system of federal rental assistance dysfunctional. The proposal would also impose a 2-year cap on rental assistance for able-bodied adults, sending a bigger share of the money to the elderly and disabled. In addition, the budget includes $25 million in housing grants for young people aging out of foster care. HUD Secretary Scott Turner said that the rental assistance programs have become, quote, too bloated and bureaucratic to efficiently function, and praised the restructuring of the aid programs.
So it's going to be a 2-year cap on Section 8 for able-bodied adults. Now, how they're going to determine who's able-bodied, that's a whole nother story, but able-bodied adults. So this is going to usher in more opportunity for the ones who are disabled and the elderly. Let's get into how long are people on Section 8. So when you go into the actual data, the average family that's on, or the average welfare recipient as far as Section 8 is on, about 6 years, right? But here's the issue. I think the problem is that, and I'm going to get into that, like I said, as far as what I've seen. The problem is that you do have Section 8 in some cases has become a lifestyle. People will get on the program, have extremely low rent, and never get off. And not we all, but a lot of us have seen that. So that's just one of the reasons. So I think that that's one of the problems that I've seen for a long time. And I think that's why you have this issue now where you have a government like a Trump who's extremely conservative, and they certainly want to cut a lot of federal programs that they feel are not needed or that have been abused. Whether people understand it or not, Section 8 has definitely been abused. Some haven't seen it, some don't understand it. I want to get into what people are saying on the internet. So that's always interesting. So going through TikTok, I've seen a lot of different information. Some people are angry about it. Surprisingly, though, a lot of people are not mad at it. A lot of people are kind of like, look, that's exactly what should happen. Before I get into the TikTok videos, now, I would say 2 years is a nice amount of time, simply because Section 8 is a subsidy program, right? It's something to help people get on their feet. But I know people, I've seen people and know people who have been on it 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and even in some cases, 30 years. There's always this question where people say, can it be passed down? Now, technically, Section 8 can't be, it's not, the voucher isn't transferable, but what happens is that the head of household can change. So whoever's the head of household on that actual voucher, the head of household can be renamed. So sometimes what happens, I guess, depending on the state, once the head of household changes, let's say the original head of household passes away or the original head of household moves out or for whatever reason, they'll change that on the actual recipient. And then, Section 8 sometimes, I guess, will come out and do a recertification, but it can in that way be transferred over. And here's the problem that we have in this country, though. The problem is that when you have people on it for a long time, it essentially keeps people who really, really need it off of the program. Now, how long are the wait times for Section 8? People don't realize in some cases, like I said, New York is like an extreme. You might be waiting, let's say 5 years. Now, if you want to get on in Des Moines, Iowa, then you might be waiting a few months. But who's trying to live in Des Moines, Iowa? No disrespect to them. So this is the issue. There are people who really need this program who are not able to get on because they are able-bodied people who can actually work, who are staying on the program too long.
So, have y'all seen this TikTok video with this lady who bought a 2024 Range Rover and she was on Section 8 and she got a DHS card and they found out about it and they cut her off of everything and told her that she got to pay DHS back $27,000 because she got 6 kids and they told her that she had to sell her truck. My only question to this video is, why are you people so hateful when it comes to people with Section 8? And I don't think people realize, like, just because you get Section 8 don't mean that you don't have no other bills to pay. You still have to pay a DTE bill. You still have to pay fucking insurance, car insurance. You still have to pay cable. You still have to pay internet. You still have to pay cell phones. You still have to pay credit cards. You still got to take care of them funky ass kids and their needs, whatever that may be. So just because you get Section 8, that's only one bill that you getting paid. I don't get it. Like, why are y'all so hateful when it come to people being on Section 8? I never heard anybody say anything good.
Let me try to address what she's saying. So why are people kind of like a little bit, resentful of Section 8? I think, I can't speak for everybody. I think the reason why people are a little resentful of Section 8 is because you have a lot of people who are not on Section 8 and who, a lot of Americans are about $1,000 away from being broke, or one check away from being broke. Don't even have $1,000 saved in their account. So there's a lot of people who are working day in, day out, can't afford much. And if you're in that space where you work and you make too much money for, let's say, a Section 8 or any other subsidy, however, you barely making ends meet. And again, I'm just speaking from the perspective of how some people may think. And they see somebody who's on Section 8 for years, who's paying little to no rent and has a lot of relief stress because, let me say it like this. Now, this isn't everybody, but there are situations where people have a reduced rent via a subsidy program, and then they have more people in the household than what they're telling Section 8 they have. So there's actual income in there, but it's not being reported, right? And then you have people who, let's say, like in her story, she referenced this woman who has a Range Rover, and, I guess the program found out and said, you know what, we want our money back. You owe us 20-something thousand and they wanted her to sell her truck. Now, think about it. A Range Rover is, a fully loaded Range Rover is about a little over $100,000. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but anybody who can lease or finance a Range Rover probably shouldn't be getting subsidized housing. That's just how I see it. I think that's just common sense. But far be it from me to judge anybody. But yeah, Range Rover, nah, you shouldn't be driving no Range Rover if you're having your rent subsidized. You should be paying your rent. So a lot of people, now again, that's just one story, right? But I think a lot of people have that idea about Section 8 in relation to people who are on it for a long period of time. So we should liken Section 8, in my opinion, we should liken it to like unemployment, right? If you lose your job and you draw unemployment, now, depending on when you draw it, typically unemployment is like 6 months, right? Now, in some of the crazier times, let's say during the financial crisis of 2008, unemployment, they had did it up to, I think, 99 months back then in 2008, 2009. So 99 months is, 2 years, basically. So there were people who were able to draw unemployment longer because that was the climate at the time financially, right? But there is a limit. You could not stay on unemployment indefinitely, right? During COVID, they had unemployment. I forgot how many weeks that went up to, but they also had unemployment for sole proprietors, right? Contractors, non-W-2 employees. For the first time in history, as far as I know, they had never did unemployment for people who had W-9 or sole proprietors and businesses. Now, again, there was a limit. If there was no limit, here's the thing about Americans, and I think just humans in general. If there's no limit, it doesn't create an incentive to get off of it. So if you were able to get unemployment indefinitely, I don't think a lot of people will work. Now, keep in mind, when you get unemployment, a lot of times you're getting 65% of your income of what you got at your last job, but people will find a way to live on 65%. It just never work again. Let's keep it funky. Some people are not going to go back to work unless they have to, unless they are forced to do so. So that's the reason why you have to have parameters or limits on these things. So I think Section 8 to me should be something that is transitional, helps you get to another place. And without a limit, you don't have the incentive for people to get off. Now, let me get into some of the stuff I saw during real estate agency, right? So I hold a license, and there was a time where I handled some Section 8 rentals, and I've dealt with people who had vouchers. Now, some of the things I saw, I'm not naming any names, but some of the things I saw, right? So I saw people whose parents were on Section 8 for a long time, 20 years, 25 years. I saw people who were drawing Section 8 or not applying, but they had the voucher. Who they represented to be in the home was not actual facts. There was more people in the home that actually were working and had income. So they could technically pay the rent if all the family members contributed to the rent, right? So let's say you have a mom, a grown-up daughter, a grown-up son, and potentially another adult man, everybody could contribute and pay the rent. But again, if you are, applying and you're getting a voucher and you're saying, okay, they want to know who's in the household. Section 8 needs to know who's in the household and what is the income. Section 8 is income based. So typically they look at the income, and then anything above 30% of your income, they will pay for, right? It may vary from state to state, but that's a general base of it. So if you're, let's say, for example, I'm just going to say a single woman and you have maybe one adult kid. If you don't report the adult kid as having a job, and let's say you have another adult male or another adult female in there, if you don't report them as being part of the household, your caseworker is not going to ask you what they make, because they're, to her, it's just you and let's say your son or daughter. So point being is that there's an advantage if you say, oh, you know what, it's only me and my one child, let alone these other two people that are in there who are working. So now you have a rental cost that's significantly reduced, and you have all these people in the house who are able to keep their income. So people who see and know of it, they get salty because they're like, yo, I'm paying all of my rent or all of my mortgage, and it's me, my significant other, my adult kid, my adult, son or daughter. We're all contributing to make the house work and to pay these bills, and we don't get to have any reduced costs. So I think that the whole issue is really, there's two things. The main issue is the duration, right? The time, because there's never been, as far as I know, there's never been a time limit put on Section 8. Once you get in there, you can continue to go on. They may do recertifications or they may check on you from time to time, but as long as your income hasn't raised, they don't change anything as far as your benefits. Now, keep in mind, this is before I get to number two, this is the crux of it. The thing about it is that the more your income increases, the more your benefits decrease. So the argument is that there's no incentive for you to want your income to increase, at least not above board, because your benefits decrease, right? So that's the one thing, the duration, right? Now, the second issue is, obviously it's tied to the duration, is the fact that there are people who are disabled, who are veterans, who are older, who are waiting to get on who are waiting on the list to actually get a Section 8 voucher. And as I said, there are people waiting 5 years in some cases. So the wait lists are long. It's because you have people on there who shouldn't be on there that long. And I think that's at the end of the day, that's the crux of the issue.
Biggest mass amount of homelessness in the history, not just of the USA, of the world, if we cut the program. So in my opinion, what'd you say? 2.2 million people, right, would be essentially homeless. No landlord's going to just accept you not paying them at that point, and expecting them to pay out of pocket is unreasonable and unrealistic. So
here's the thing, there's something to be said about that. Now, these changes, will it create a level of homelessness? My honest opinion, I honestly don't think it's going to cause a lot of homelessness. I think what's going to happen is that those who are able will find a way and start to work. And honestly, like I said, I don't think that there are some people who actually can't pay. They just aren't paying because they don't have to pay. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that you're going to have this huge influx of homelessness, because 2.2 million people, it's not 2.2 million people who are on the program who are not working. I actually know, again, like I said, I've seen it. A lot of people are working. They're just not applying those funds to rent because they don't have to. You know what I'm saying? So if your rent is, just for example, if your rent is $300 or whatever, and you're in the market rent, you're in an area where market rent is $1,500 or $1,700, and your rent is $300, you're gonna want to pay $300 forever. What is gonna make you decide, okay, now I want to take more of my actual income and put it towards rent? So many people who will find a way, in my opinion, to say, you know what, now that there's a limit, I'm going to have to change things up because I ain't got no choice. People aren't just going to voluntarily go homeless and just be like, well, I can't pay. One of the things that I see when it comes to the process, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. Now, this is just my little piece of it. I just want to share my little piece of it when it comes to the whole mechanism, even the logistics of it. Now, when it comes to the state, now, if you're not familiar with how Section 8 works, now, when you have a voucher and let's say you go to rent an apartment, it's not like you just get to move in and that's how it is. It's not that quick. So first of all, you choose the place. The landlord has to agree that they want to rent to you. Now, under HUD guidelines or federal law, as far as fair housing law, a landlord can't just decide he or she doesn't want to rent to someone who's applying using a voucher. However, it's hard to prove it. A landlord could decide, you know what, if they have, let's say 3 applicants and you're trying to rent an apartment and you have a voucher and 2 other people are paying out of pocket, the landlord can just say, okay, the other recipient or the other applicants are a little bit more viable. I want to go with this person. Now, Here's the reason. One of the reasons why. Now, when you go to rent an apartment, Section 8 does an inspection. Now, some of the things I experienced as a real estate agent when I represented someone who was renting an apartment, the Section 8 inspection, the Section 8 inspection is so tedious and reckless in a way, because what they'll do is they will fail you over something ridiculous. Now, the guys is that, in my opinion, the inspectors are trying to make sure they, since they are actually the ones distributing the funds for the rent, they're paying the rent, quote unquote. They want to make sure that the apartment is up to par, up to code. There's nothing crazy. But they'll come in, the inspector will come in there and fail you over a light switch, right? Or fail you over a piece of peeling paint, just something really small that a private, when you're paying on your own, there's no way that anyone would stop you from renting this apartment, right? But because Section 8 is paying for it, which are really all our tax dollars anyway, they become really fickle and they will fail you over something. The inspector is getting paid and the inspector will say, I'm going to come back next week. Please fix the knob on the stove, or please fix the handle on the door. It's loose. Just the cabinet is missing a handle. Just something really dumb. So my take on it is that the whole system is very clunky in some ways, and it gets to a place where some of the inspectors for Section 8 are, I'm not saying all, but some of them are very petty, and they are making the system lethargic on purpose to create more work for themselves, in my opinion. So this is where all these things that have been happening for years, the whole system is clunky, and for those who are even abusing the system, staying on it too long, the process of inspection, it's a clunky system, and I'm not surprised that it's being revamped. Now, my personal opinion, I would say that what they should do, they have to make sure that people with disabilities, older people, disabled veterans, things like that, those are the people who should be prioritized for the program. As things move on, what you'll see is that the changes in these programs are going to change some people who might be on it. And I honestly don't think it's going to cause a big change as far as homelessness. I think people will adjust the same way they adjusted to use the actual program in and of itself. Now, SNAP, the food, the food stamp program, SNAP, that's a whole nother subject. I'm not going to really get into that super heavy. I do think the SNAP program, I don't know if there's a lot of fraud in it, but there probably is too. You got to understand this again, even with SNAP, just quickly, there are people who may not need it, who are taken away from people who do need it. So I don't think that, America is short of people who are struggling. Look, at the end of the day, the average apartment now, I think the median rent for a 2-bedroom is like $1,800 across the country. And in places, in the Northeast where I'm at, on the East Coast, $2,000. In some cases, even for a small 1-bedroom, if you're in New York, you're talking $3,000. So the cost of living is out of control. Rent has outpaced wages a while ago. So we all know that's a problem. There are Americans really struggling. So I don't want to sound like I don't understand that. We've never looked at Section 8 the way we might look at unemployment. Just like I said, in unemployment, they have time limits. And even if you're on unemployment before, I've been on unemployment in years back, and at certain points, you have to go for some type of assessment or training, to talk about jobs. If you don't go to those things, they will potentially cut your benefits, because they're not just going to give you unemployment forever. You know what I mean? So this is where we at in America. I think that people are going a little bit crazy with it and acting like this is the end of the world, but
he is trying to take food stamps for my 6 children. He is trying to take the food from my children's bellies. Why, must you ask? Why would Donald Trump want to take food stamps from me, Courtney? Well, because I drive a 2024 G-Wagon. That's why. And when you were on food stamps, or if you were on any type of welfare, You can't have nice things. Did you not read that in the small print? Yeah. When you're on food stamps, you can't drive any vehicle newer than 2000. 99 or older. 2000 and higher, nope, you got to sell it because that's considered an asset. That's literally what I'm being told, that I have to sell my 2024 G-Wagon because it is considered an asset and I won't be.
Wait a minute. She got to be playing though right now. Though. Hold up. A 2024 G-Wagon? hold on. Let's look at some images of a G. Hold on. Let me. Listen, man. Some of these have to be skits because if anybody's driving a G-Wagon and is getting sectioned, I don't know, man. I just, it don't make sense to me. Your priorities ain't right. If you are getting subsidized for your rent and you driving a G-Wagon, let's take a look at the G-Wagons, right? A G-Wagon, 2024, off Car Gurus, a used G-Wagon is $204,000. Let's find the cheapest one. What's the cheapest G-Wagon? I don't know. It can't be. I mean, honestly, all of these cars, yeah, this is crazy work. She can't be driving no G-Wagon. This is wild work. Even the cheapest one looks like it might be, I can't find anything under $100,000. This is crazy. I know she's not driving a $200,000 car talking about Section 8. This is crazy work, but this is what we living in. Let me play the rest of her story real quick because I'm trying to understand. I understand the anger for some people, you know what I'm saying, if you've been getting the benefits, but it's almost not real to listen to people complain about this when they are driving that type of car.
Now that the one big beautiful bill, that name is crazy, have been approved, which cuts Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, and some other benefits, what exactly does that mean for you? That means that elders that used to be able to qualify for SNAP and these benefits after the age of 54 now would not qualify for it until they're 65. Also, parents who were able to not work and receive these benefits up until the child is 17 now have to go to work. You no longer qualify if you don't work. To qualify for these benefits, so they're not getting rid of them. To qualify for these benefits, you have to work at least 80 hours a month up to the age of 65. Of course, if you work, then your benefit amount will go down because that is how SNAP works, is based on your income. However, it doesn't have to be paid work. You either have to have a job that pays money, volunteer, or be in some kind of class that will give you some kind of trade. I'm telling you this because I don't want people to freak out. No, these circumstances are not good. Maybe you don't have anyone to watch your children. Maybe you don't trust anybody watching your children because of traumatic experiences you've had as a child. There was a time that none of these benefits even existed, and yet humanity survived.
We'd all like to get help. And like I said, I'm not trying to be insensitive to people who do need help. There are people who do need help, but the problem is there are people who could also work. Now, let me give you an example. So you have people, again, like I said, you have people who are not on any program who are just that close to one paycheck away or two paychecks away and are barely making it. That's actually most Americans. Most Americans are not that far away from needing a program, needing a subsidy program, right? But they keep on trucking on. They take on extra work. They cut back spending. They do all types of different things. So I say all that to say there's not a huge difference between someone who may be getting, and in some cases, the people who don't necessarily need to be on Section 8 or a subsidy program. There are some people who are like right there at the top that don't necessarily need it, but do get it and will stay on it. Then you have people who are not on it, who are just very close to needing it. Those two groups are very close together. So it's just something to keep in mind for people to understand that That's why we're at that point in this country, because the people who really need it, who may be way down here, are not getting it because the people up there who don't necessarily have to be there are staying on.
So Trump and his administration has passed a bill to where junk food can't be bought with EBT. And hey, don't get me wrong. I understand a lot of people do abuse it. That's understandable. Here is the thing. To eat healthy and organic is very expensive. So if you got a family that only get $500 and you want them to eat organic and healthy, they're not going to get a lot of food that lasts them throughout the month because the prices are so expensive. So if they're going to do that, I think they need to go after these companies that are charging an arm and a leg for organic or healthy food. Like, that's crazy. To be healthy, it costs so much. Even when we go to the store, a bottle of water, $4, $5 for a bottle of water.
Now, I haven't heard anything about them changing what you can buy. People buy all kind of crazy stuff with SNAP, but but look, at the end of the day, no, it doesn't cost that much to eat healthy. You don't have to eat organic. I think eating healthy is good, regardless of whether you're paying cash or using SNAP. So oftentimes the bullshit is what costs more money. You can actually save more money if you actually stay on the outer perimeters of the supermarket. This is a whole nother thing I'm going to do, but if you stay on the outer perimeters of the supermarket, actually buy vegetables, simple whole foods, not Whole Foods, the actual grocery store. They're expensive. But in a regular grocery store, if you buy fruits, vegetables, some of the basics, and stop buying all the processed stuff, you'll actually probably save some money. But again, that's a whole nother story. It's all the bullshit with all the sugar that's cost that runs up the bill. So,
and then they wonder why Americans are big and Americans are unhealthy, and America's like, it's a lot of fat people over here compared to other countries.
The water is not that expensive. Water is cheaper than Coke and all that other stuff. It's just that people don't want to drink it. They want to have the sugar and everything. But again, that's a whole nother story. Let me move on to something else.
When I was an E1, E2 in the military, got a brand new baby and a brand new wife, I did not qualify for anything but like WIC. We could get some formula for the baby, and we could get like some juicy juice and some cheese, but we couldn't get like no actual food stamps, like nothing else. We didn't qualify for it. My little measly ass poor decision to paycheck was not enough for us, but we couldn't get anything. But then I see whole ass adults that have literally lived off of food stamps, and they're upset because they have to actually work or show some type of qualification now. And I don't understand it.
The other thing too, people have to realize is that, you know, let's keep it honest. I've seen this since I was a kid. People take food stamps, sell it to other people for cash. You know what I'm saying? People take the leftover food stamps, sell it to someone for cash. It's been happening since forever. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen that forever. So it is what it is. People don't always play above the board and play fair when it comes to these programs. I've seen people do that, and that's why you have the sentiment of people who have not been on the program, who don't qualify. I think most of the gripe is coming from people who are barely above the point that, you know, they need the subsidy, but they don't qualify for it. Those are the most disgruntled people right now. You know what I'm saying? So those are not disgruntled. Those are the people who are less sympathetic for the new guidelines for Section 8 and SNAP are the people who barely make enough where they can't get it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going on.
It's because I'm a mom who receives food stamps, but it's so sad that y'all want to see people without so fucking bad. They're doing that little cut to the food stamps and the Medicaid where it hasn't passed the Senate yet, but we know the whole Senate is Republican, so we already know. Let's just hope and pray that somebody in their right mind come to their fucking senses. You feel me? But it's the fact that y'all happy about this shit. Oh, now y'all can get y'all lazy asses up and stop living off our money for free. Y'all think people who receive government assistance don't work? Y'all think we don't work? Baby, housing done went up. The cost of living done went up. The food cost done went up. Daycare done went up. We out here fucking damn near about to lose our fucking lives trying to hustle and get money to goddamn pay the bills. That's why we need the government assistance. The fuck? Car payments done went up. Car insurance done went up. And it's gonna go up some more because of tariffs. So, What do y'all get? Oh, people who own government assistance are poor, they're lazy, or they don't work. Where do y'all get that from? I think that's a stereotype y'all started because people in the hood or the projects or the trailer parks, yeah, y'all put that on everybody. No, bitch. That ain't how that work. Because I'm at work. I'm in school. I'm doing the best I can. I need my food stamps. But if they take it away, I'm going to do what I got to do to make ends meet.
I'm not dissing what she have to say, because for a lot of people that's real talk, right? But the people who are not on it, they have the same issue. They have the rent, the mortgage, car notes, childcare, and they paying all that out of pocket and are struggling. So Americans across the board are struggling and trying to figure out who deserves it, who doesn't deserve it, who's abusing it, who's not abusing it. That's the problem. That's the biggest problem. And the reason why we have this issue now is because, again, they never put any parameters in place for the duration of the time you could have that program, these programs. I think that's the biggest problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that is the number one issue, is that there was no duration. So it's like I said, if you were to take unemployment and make no duration for it or no ending for it, person may not ever get off of it. And the people who are working it's going to create this disgruntledness between those who are on it, those who are not on it, or those who need it and those who don't need it but are on it. So that's the problem. And that's why you have people who are saying these things. Again, this is not a race issue. It's not a race thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I broke down the stats from the beginning. Again, there are more white people on welfare assistance, about I want to say, what did I say, 50-60%, and then about 30% with black people. So it's Americans in general. A lot of people are using subsidy programs, and I think this whole conversation, this was a long time coming, and it was poorly run or poorly put together by HUD and the federal government for so long. It's been a lot of sloppiness. If you just administered subsidies and these programs in a smooth duration time period, if you give people the actual parameters, how long they can be on it, then you wouldn't have that issue. Everybody would have their time. See, when you put a duration on something, that means anybody who gets on the program, they can either be on it from 0 to 2 years, or let's say 5 years. I would even say 5 years is actually a fair idea to do. If you did 5 years, that's a nice amount of time to say, hey, you know what? We're going to subsidize your rent for 5 years. By year 5, you have to, whatever you got to do, get a better job, link up with more family members, whatever you got to do it on your own. I don't think that's insulting, but I think that you have to create some type of parameter for people, or else you're going to have this issue.
Okay, like I said, y'all just mad. Y'all mad because y'all not on EBT. Y'all just mad because so what? We over here, man. I got my son over here in the cut. He got his snacks too right over there. Say hey. Yeah.
We on the food stamps. Hey, stop playing with us. 3,000, 3K food stamps. Stop playing with us in the comments.
Yeah, we got them stamps. Yeah. Y'all like stamps? Come get them. You like stamps? If you want food stamps, come holler at me. Come on, holler at me.
Just went grocery shopping at Kroger. My card was declined 3 separate times. Not only that, my cash benefits was not added on my card today. My Section 8 is now red flagged. My caseworker is not even trying to work with me. Not even trying. She said because I have this Range Rover and this BMW that I refuse to sell, that all of my shit is on a hold right now. How can the government force somebody to sell a vehicle? The vehicles aren't even in my name, so they aren't even mine. Yes, I drive them. Yes, they're in my boyfriend's name, and we do live together, but they're not in my name.
Oh my God. Wait a minute. Oh, that's making my heart hurt. It's so funny. So she's saying that she lived with her boyfriend. She's saying my cat over here sneezing. It sounds crazy. You all right? You good? You good, Freedom? And the cat sneeze sound crazy. Must have allergies too. It's that time of year. But oh, anyway, she says she has a Range Rover and a BMW, and it's not in her name, it's in her boyfriend's name, and they want to stop her benefits. They want her to sell the car. So, again, I don't even know if it's a skit or whatever, but it seems real what she had to say. But the point is that she's saying that it's her boyfriend's, it's in her boyfriend's name, but they live together. So again, they look at all that stuff and they say, yo, your boyfriend, he lives in the same household, he has income. Why are we giving you subsidized rent? Why are we paying your rent? If you live with somebody who's part of your household, who can help pay the monthly bills, whether you're married or not, they don't give a damn about that. They want to know who's in the household. That's what they want to know. So this is just, again, when you see people like that, what they're doing is they are making it bad for the people who really need it. And that's what we're trying to detangle. That's what's going on in this country. So that's why it seems like people are hating on people who have SNAP, Section 8. I don't think people are hating. The problem is the people who really need it are getting stereotyped by the people who do not need it. If you are able to drive, I don't care if it's your boyfriend. I don't care about none of that. At the end of the day, listen, if you're pushing a Range Rover around or a BMW and your boyfriend, significant other, girlfriend, whoever is living in the house with you, they should help you pay. Y'all should pay the rent together. Do the right thing. Pay the rent together. You should not be asking the government to pay the rent. That is just crazy work to me.
Nope, I'm not against people getting food stamps at all. If you fell on hard times and you need assistance and you need food stamps, go get them. Just don't make a damn career out of it.
So apparently somebody from New York is going around stealing people food stamps. And unfortunately, me and mine was a victim of it last night. Well, not me and mine, but it's my sisters, and I don't pay by my sister food stamps, y'all. I'm so sick about it. Listen, my mom and them, they cook Sunday dinner and they throw down. I mean, oxtails, turkey wings, all that, mac and cheese. How the hell we gonna have Sunday dinner? And y'all don't stole my sister food stamps. Somebody tell me how? I'm mad. I'm real mad.
We recently got approved for food stamps and just got our card in today. And we are super thankful for that because I'm already one of those people where I don't like asking for help for anything. So if I'm actually asking for help, it's because I need it. Once upon a time, money was never an issue for us, but unfortunately, we're in a very difficult season right now. So come with us to finally get some groceries.
That's a rundown of just some of the sentiment we're seeing out there. You have people who are obviously mad about, the cut in federal funding for Section 8 and for SNAP, for food stamps. You have people who are mad about it. You have some people who are happy about it and feel like, yo, this is a long time coming. You have people who, and I tend to fit in that third category. I'm not mad at people who are getting a subsidy. At the end of the day, I'm not getting it. It's not necessarily something that's hurting me personally, but my opinion of it is that from what I've seen, like I said earlier, there are people who have abused it. I've seen it personally in my own life in real estate. And I know of, people who use it, who don't necessarily need it. And I think that the only way to fix that problem is just to, like I said, the government needs to revise the program, put a duration on it. That way it can be fair, at the end of the day, and we can, people who are in dire need of it, people who are the elderly, the disabled, right? And people who have been on the wait list who are legitimately poor, they can't pay their rent, who need to get on. You got to have a duration. That way, when people get on, people can get off, new people can get on. And that, to me, the duration part of it makes it fair. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, thanks for tuning in. It's the Crucial Combo Podcast. It's your boy Kojo of Free A. I'll talk to you guys soon. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. Don't consider it, just hit it. All the new subscribers tuning into the channel, thanks again. And of course, also tune into the other podcast I have with my twin called Perspective Justice. We'll have a new episode coming out soon. Peace out. Talk to you guys soon.